Yet more injury woes for Nottingham Forest as Danilo has been confirmed by Brazilian reports to be out. But what does this mean for the crunch game against Southampton? Welcome to your latest Forest news. Good morning, good evening, or good night, wherever in the world you are, whatever time of day you're watching this. Hope you're having a wonderful day, and welcome to your latest Nottingham Forest news. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the fiasco that is Forest and injuries. Well, it seems to be on average 2 a game at the moment. We're talking about what this means going forward into the Southampton game, and will Forest miss out heavily because Danilo has been on fire? Before we do any of that, don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new here. If you'd like to be a member, it's only 99p. And a very quick reminder, there's only about 50 tickets left for this signed framed Ryan Yates shirt. So make sure you go check it out on Football Prizes. The link's in the description. And grab your tickets before they sell out right now. Let's jump into it and let's start with Danilo. Okay, so it was against the tragedy that was Brentford, where Danilo went to take a shot, took a swing at the ball, completely missed it, and instantly gave the dreaded spinny finger signal to the bench, indicating he could no longer carry on. It wasn't until a few minutes later, as always seems to be the case in Nottingham Forest, where he was actually taken off because we had no more subs left, because we'd taken the 3 slots for substitutions. Look, I'm not going to go into explaining substitutions again, but let's just say that we had no more subs left to make. So off he came, and reports are now coming out from Brazil. They haven't yet been confirmed by the club that Danilo will be out for at least the next 2 matches, which will be Forest's match against Southampton, which is a huge match, and then the away trip to Chelsea. In all honesty, what does this mean? Who knows anymore? I've given up predicting when players will come back. If we look back at Henderson, we were told out a couple of weeks, and then he's now out until August. If we look back at Kate and the amount of delays he had. So when we're told Danilo, or the reports are suggesting Danilo's out for 2 games, I basically say in my mind I've written him off for the rest of the season. And for me, it's going to be a huge loss. He has been one of the players I've been most excited about from the January window. We wanted him on FFTV. All of us, all the panelists have said, chuck him straight in. He looks like the real deal. Of course, he was slow played into the team. We missed out on him for a good few weeks. And now that he's established himself, now that he's scored back-to-back goals in back-to-back games, he's gone. And it just seems to be the trend with us right now. Any player that starts to come into a bit of form gets injured. Nico Williams, who looked crap all season playing at right back, we suddenly switch him into a right wing back and he looks like a half decent player. Arguably has his best 2 games and then goes and gets his jaw broken the game before. Like, is this bad luck? Is this fate? Is this inevitability? Is this stupidity from the medical staff? These are all questions that we don't have the answer to, but you can only go on the stats, and the stats show you that Forest have a ridiculous amount of injuries compared to most other Premier League teams. Chelsea aside, I think Forest have, for most of the season, had the most players out injured, with up to 14 players at any one given time being out. And it just shows you that, those of you who, or those outside the club who are criticizing the recruitment and the depth in it, without that depth, then potentially we wouldn't have been able to field the team and we would have had the youth players in for most of the season. But you have to ask yourself about the warm-ups. We've seen players injured in warm-ups. I take your minds back to the Mickey Mouse Cup semi-final against Manchester United, and Jesse Lingard gets injured in the warm-up. I take you back to the Fulham match. 5 minutes into the game, both McKenna and Bolly pull out exactly simultaneously, man. It was like sympathy pains for each other. And off they went. Bolly out for the rest of the season. McKenna just about coming back. And then McKenna comes back. And literally the next game breaks his collarbone. He's out. Kate comes back. In and out. In and out. I've never seen someone resurrected so many times from the dead, because it's just crazy how many times he's had to stop. I was just happy he got through 90 minutes against Brentford the other day. And I personally think there's 100% an issue with the medical staff. I think my theory, I don't know if it's true or not, but Forest are pretty much the second lowest possession team in the Premier League. So what does that mean? It means if you haven't got the ball, you are doing most of the running because you're chasing your tails, trying to get the ball back. And with that means you're exerting more energy. And with that means you're going to get more injuries. That's just my opinion. That's why I think we see a lot of these soft tissue injuries because there's players just running too much and having to, pull a hamstring here or a groin there or what have you. So anyway, that's a debate for another day. But the point is, what happens now with Danilo out? Well, luckily Yates is coming back into fitness, so he could slot into that position. However, I do feel Danilo will be a huge loss because I don't think Yates and Mangala are enough to hold a two. I think Danilo could with Mangala. If Yates is going to come back in for Danilo, then we are definitely going to need a third body in there, and it's going to need to be, and it's probably out of necessity, going to be a Shelvey or a Freuler coming back into that three. Or a Quixote. A lot of fans have gone off him after the weekend and what he did in the wall. I would still use him. I don't think that one mistake is enough to tarnish what's been a decent season for him so far, when of course he hasn't been injured. But I don't think we can play a two in midfield now. I don't think they're strong enough or energetic enough without Danilo to hold that. Especially as Danilo comes from Palmeiras, where they were used to playing in a two. And that's why I think we've been able to get away with it, even though we lost against Brentford somewhat. So you could see the energy and the distance he would cover. So that's the update on Danilo. It's not confirmed by the club yet, but the sources from Brazil are quite strong. Let me know what you think about it. Just before we get into some other news, don't forget Beat the Drop has been moved to tonight at 8 p.m. because obviously bank holiday yesterday and the big game between Everton and Leicester. And yes, that result did go for us as the two teams drew 2-2 last night. And there's been a lot of decent results going our way. But at the same time, you could argue those results have been going for other clubs as well because we lost our game, which will help the likes of Leeds, Leicester, Everton, etc. So it gets to crunch time now. 4 games to go. We've just seen Leeds hit the panic button and get rid of Garcia, and they're looking to bring in Big Sam. Is this a masterstroke or is this a sign of desperation? Who knows? They've got Man City next, followed by Newcastle next, and then they've got, I believe, West Ham and Spurs as their last game of the season. So potentially they are still playing for 6 points, which could get them to 36 points if they win their last 2 games with a better goal difference. And this is why I still think Forest need to get to 37 points to be completely safe. Is there a path for this? I believe so, but it all starts with Southampton on Monday. Southampton is a must win. There's no ifs, no buts, no maybes anymore, because following that we got Chelsea, Arsenal and Palace. This is it. This is the final 4. This is where it gets to crunch time. We'll be dissecting all of this on Beat the Drop, as well as looking at the other main contenders in this one, because it's getting very, very tasty. So we'll see you tonight there for Beat the Drop. Please don't forget, if you haven't, to hit that like button. Subscribe to Forest Fan TV if you are new. We'll see you at 8 p.m. tonight. Strap in. It's going to be an interesting month. Come on, you Reds.